Maggie Summers had two rules when it came to dating apps. 1. Never swipe right on a guy holding a fish. 2. Always Google him before the first date to make sure he hadn't been arrested for tax evasion, pyramid schemes, or, worst of all, karaoke crimes. But those rules shattered the moment the city's favorite dating app, Spark, rolled out their shiny new Love Sync algorithm. According to the aggressively upbeat email, it could find your soulmate with 99.9% accuracy. Maggie, desperate to prove to her mother that she wasn't destined to die alone with 6 cats, caved and hit update. Bad idea. The next morning, her phone exploded with notifications. New match. New match. New match. Dozens of them. And they weren't normal, garden variety options either. Her ex-boyfriend Greg, who once broke up with her via meme. Her dentist, Dr. Patel. Her building's grumpy doorman, Hank. And, oh God, her high school nemesis, Tiffany Bloom, who had apparently switched teams. Maggie rubbed her temples. This app is drunk, she muttered. Across the city, chaos bloomed. By noon, the Spark servers had turned the metropolis into a dating circus. At a coffee shop, a barista screamed at his ex-wife while she waited in line for her latte. At the gym, a yoga instructor fainted after discovering he was algorithmically matched with 3 of his students, and his boss. And at the public library, an elderly man proposed to a woman he had just met in the poetry section. The city trended on social media with hashtags like #SparkPocalypse, #LoveGlitch, and the particularly brutal #DeleteSparkSaveLives. Maggie, meanwhile, tried to maintain a semblance of dignity at work. As an event planner for upscale corporate parties, she was used to dealing with chaos, drunk CEOs, impromptu speeches, one time a live goat in a ballroom, but her phone buzzing every 30 seconds with desperate notifications was too much. By 3 p.m., her boss, Miranda, who dressed exclusively in beige and spoke exclusively in passive-aggressive compliments, snapped. Maggie, Miranda said, peering over her tablet, your phone has been vibrating so violently it's making the ficus lean. Sorry, Maggie muttered, fumbling to silence it. Technical issue. Love glitch. Long story. Miranda raised an eyebrow. Fix it, Summers. We have a gala tonight. No one wants to see you getting matched with the catering staff in the middle of the champagne toast. That evening, Maggie dragged herself to the event venue, a rooftop garden with fairy lights and overpriced hors d'oeuvres, and tried to focus on keeping everything running smoothly. But the universe had other plans. Halfway through the evening, she spotted one of her matches striding toward her, Ryan Carter, the city's most annoying, and admittedly attractive, morning news anchor. He had perfect teeth, a perfect jawline, and the kind of charisma that made women swoon and Maggie want to throw a drink in his face. Maggie Summers, he said, flashing that $1 million grin. Fancy seeing you here. Or should I say, fancy being matched with you. Oh, God, Maggie groaned. Not you. Ryan chuckled, unbothered. Hey, don't shoot the algorithm. Clearly, fate thinks we're a power couple. I think fate needs a software patch, she snapped, trying to sidestep him. But Ryan followed, leaning casually against the bar as if he owned the place. Come on, Summers. Give it a chance. Worst case scenario, you get a good story out of it. Best case, you end up with me. Maggie rolled her eyes so hard she worried they might never roll back. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit apartment across town, 2 overworked Spark engineers stared at their monitors, pale and sweating. Did you reroute the compatibility API? One asked, panic edging his voice. I thought you did, the other replied. Oh God, do you know how many people are getting matched with their baristas right now? A phone rang. It was their CEO. The voice on the other end screamed one word that chilled them to the bone. Fix. IT. Back at the rooftop gala, the night spiraled into full-blown absurdity. A bridesmaid stormed in, demanding to speak to the DJ because she had been matched with him mid-rehearsal dinner. The CFO of the hosting company locked himself in the bathroom after discovering his wife was now 98% compatible with her personal trainer. And Maggie? She found herself reluctantly cornered by Ryan, who seemed determined to ride the chaos straight into her personal space. You know, he said, leaning closer, maybe the app's onto something. You plan parties? I host them. It's destiny. Or a glitch, she shot back, but her cheeks betrayed her with a faint flush. Because the truth, the awful, inconvenient truth, was that Ryan Carter was annoyingly charming. The kind of charming that could make you forget he once compared himself to George Clooney during a charity telethon. Still, Maggie wasn't about to let him win. Fine, she said, crossing her arms. 1 coffee. That's it. And if you so much as mention our compatibility percentage, I'm dumping it in your lap. Ryan grinned, utterly unfazed. Deal. But Maggie didn't know that agreeing to that coffee would be the first domino in a chain of events that would turn the city upside down, and her life right along with it. Because while everyone else was panicking, someone very clever, was quietly exploiting the chaos. And Maggie was about to swipe right into the biggest mess of her life. By Monday morning, Maggie Summers had two things. 1. A caffeine hangover courtesy of her reluctant coffee date with Ryan Carter. 2. A deep, unshakable suspicion that the city was teetering on the brink of a full-scale romantic apocalypse. The Spark servers were still on the fritz, and people were losing their collective minds. Couples were breaking up in coffee shops. Singles were rage-deleting their accounts. And in one particularly horrifying incident, a man proposed to his Roomba because the algorithm said they were a perfect match for a harmonious domestic life. Maggie wanted no part of it. She just wanted to get through her week, nail her next event, and pretend that her phone wasn't still buzzing with unwanted matches every hour on the hour. But fate, glitchy, meddling, caffeine-fueled fate, had other plans. At 10:15 a.m., her phone rang. It was Ryan Summers, he said, voice annoyingly chipper for someone who had stayed up until midnight brainstorming future dates. You sitting down? No, Maggie deadpanned, juggling a stack of client folders. And whatever this is, I'm already not interested. Too bad, Ryan said. Because we're trending. Maggie froze. We're what? Trending, he repeated, savoring the word. Apparently, the app started highlighting success stories to distract from the disaster, and guess who they picked as their poster couple? Us. There's a headline on their homepage that says, and I quote, "Love in the time of lag, Maggie plus Ryan equals endgame." Maggie nearly dropped her coffee. They what? Oh, and, Ryan added, clearly enjoying himself, there's a picture of us from last night. You know, when you threatened to dump coffee in my lap. Super cute. You're welcome. By lunchtime, Maggie had been tagged in approximately 50 social media posts, received 6 texts from her mother, see? I told you dating apps work, and one alarming DM from her ex-boyfriend Greg that simply read, so this is why you never answered my 3 a.m. texts. It was official, her life had become a meme. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, the real chaos was brewing. Meet Valentina Vega, self-made tech mogul, serial entrepreneur, and, according to her Instagram bio, lover of power lunches and people who know how to properly decant a Cabernet. Valentina had been quietly buying up Spark stock for months. She hadn't planned on the glitch, but when it happened, she recognized an opportunity. This city is desperate for stability, she told her assistant as they walked through her high-rise office. They don't want love. They want certainty. And I'm going to give it to them. Her plan? Launch a competing app, ***True North ***, that promised old-fashioned, glitch-free romance. And to promote it, she needed a public villain. Enter Maggie and Ryan. By Tuesday, Valentina's PR machine was in full swing. Articles started popping up across the internet. Is Spark manufacturing love stories? Inside the Maggie plus Ryan conspiracy. From glitch to gold, how Spark is exploiting users for clout. True North, the app that won't match you with your dentist, unless you ask it to. Maggie, oblivious to the brewing storm, was too busy dodging Ryan, who had taken to calling her babe in public just to watch her face turn the color of a ripe tomato. At one point, while setting up for a charity gala, Maggie caught him winking at a group of society wives and muttering, "We're basically the benefer of the glitch era." She threw a canopy at his head. Then came Wednesday. The day everything imploded. It started with an email from Spark. Urgent, you're invited. Join us for a live-streamed Q/&A featuring our favorite success couple, Maggie and Ryan. Location, Spark HQ, time, 6 p.m. sharp. Dress code, smart casual. Maggie stared at the email like it was a personal attack. Nope, she muttered, slamming her laptop shut. Not happening. Absolutely not. But Ryan, naturally, had other ideas. Summers, he said, showing up at her office uninvited, we have to go. Think of it as damage control. Or free publicity for whatever it is you do when you're not threatening to strangle me. Maggie glared at him. Event planning. I plan events. Like the one you're about to ruin if you don't leave. Ryan just grinned. Great. Then you'll know exactly what to wear. Pick me up at 6. By the time the live stream began, the city was watching. Literally, every bar, every coffee shop, every break room had the feed playing. And that's when Valentina Vega made her move. The feed cut to black, then flickered back on with a sleek True North logo and Valentina herself, standing in front of a minimalist backdrop, oozing power and confidence. Hello, city, she purred. I'm here to tell you that love shouldn't be left to chance, or to broken algorithms. True love deserves better. You deserve better. And with True North, you'll get exactly that. The crowd in the Spark HQ froze. Maggie blinked at Ryan. Ryan blinked at Maggie. And then, just like that, the internet exploded. Within hours, hashtags like hashtag True North Takeover and hashtag DumpSpark were trending. Investors were pulling out of Spark. And Ryan Carter, ever the opportunist, turned to Maggie with a grin that said trouble was brewing. "Summers," he said, "how do you feel about taking down a tech queen?" Maggie groaned, pinching the bridge of her nose. "I feel like I should have deleted that stupid app a week ago." But deep down, something in her stirred, a spark, if you will. Because maybe, just maybe, she and Ryan weren't just a glitch. Maybe they were about to become a revolution. By Thursday morning, Maggie Summers was officially public enemy number one. At least, according to Valentina Vega's army of influencers, who had taken to calling her the Spark sellout, the glitch girl, and Maggie's personal favorite, Cupid's corporate puppet. Her inbox was flooded with messages, her voicemail was full of reporters, and her mother had texted, twice, to say she'd been uninvited from Bunko night because we don't associate with algorithm people. And Ryan? Ryan was having the time of his life. "Summers, you're missing the bigger picture," he said over brunch, sipping his mimosa like he'd just won the lottery. "We have the city's attention. Now we use it. We don't just take Valentina down, we own this narrative." Maggie glared at him over her black coffee. "What narrative? That I got tricked into fake dating a cocky event crasher with a hero complex?" Ryan smirked. "Exactly. America loves a redemption arc." She wanted to stab him with her fork. But he wasn't entirely wrong. By that afternoon, Spark's CEO, a man with the charisma of a damp dish rag, had begged them to take part in a damage control campaign. Which is how Maggie found herself in a glossy studio, lights blinding her, forced to read cue cards that said things like, "Love isn't about perfect algorithms, it's about imperfect people finding their perfect match." Ryan, of course, went rogue. Or sometimes, he ad-libbied with a grin, "It's about a guy harassing a girl until she finally admits he's charming." The producer groaned. Maggie threw her script at him. Twitter ate it up. The tipping point came that night. Valentina Vega hosted a flashy launch party for True North, complete with champagne fountains, ice sculptures shaped like arrows, and a string quartet playing Taylor Swift covers. Ryan convinced Maggie to crash it. "Think of it as reconnaissance," he said, straightening his tie in the rearview mirror. "Or better yet, poetic justice." "Think of it as trespassing," Maggie muttered, tugging nervously at her dress. But once they walked through the doors, something in her shifted. The room buzzed with smug energy, all these shiny, perfect people sipping champagne and congratulating themselves on buying into authentic love. And there, on stage, was Valentina, basking in the spotlight. Love, Valentina declared, should be predictable. Safe. Efficient. Maggie almost choked on her drink. "Safe?" Ryan whispered, eyes dancing. "Where's the fun in that?" What happened next could only be described as chaos, and, honestly, poetry. Ryan grabbed Maggie's hand, dragged her to the stage, and snatched the mic from a very startled MC. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ryan said, grinning like the devil, "do you really want love to be safe? Or do you want fireworks? Chaos? The kind of love that makes you question every life choice you've ever made?" The crowd murmured. Cameras turned. And Maggie, caught in the blinding spotlight, did the only thing she could think of. She told the truth. "Love is messy," she said, her voice steadier than she expected. "It's inconvenient. It makes you want to scream 1 second and dance in the rain the next. And if an app promises to take that away, then maybe it's not love at all." The room erupted. By the time security escorted them out, Ryan laughing, Maggie mortified, the video had already gone viral. The next morning, the city was ablaze with support. /# Love is Chaos trended worldwide. Spark's stock rebounded. True North's numbers tanked. And for the first time in days, Maggie felt something that wasn't dread bubbling up in her chest. It felt suspiciously like hope. 2 weeks later, the dust settled. Valentina retreated to whatever billionaire bunker villains use when the public turns on them. Spark stabilized. And Maggie Summers, against all odds, found herself, begrudgingly, enjoying the company of Ryan Carter. Not that she'd admit it out loud. "You know," Ryan said one evening as they walked home from dinner, "this is the part where you kiss me." Maggie snorted. "This is the part where I push you into traffic." But she didn't. Instead, she stopped in the middle of the sidewalk, turned to him, and, for the first time since the glitch, let herself lean into the chaos. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't safe. But maybe, just maybe, it was real.